Hello, we're doing This Week in Landscaping. It is Monday, April 14th. So these are some pictures that I took this week. This is a great tree we planted last year. It is a Monterey oak. Monterey oaks are deciduous or semi-deciduous, and this one was missing most of the leaves on the top half of it, which is normal and healthy. But as you can see here, it has regained all of its leaves. All the deciduous trees are now back in full. And if you've got some deciduous trees that are not back in full, there's probably an issue at this point. So happy tree. This is another happy picture. It's hard to take pictures of hummingbirds with a phone. But as you can see, you got this little guy right here. As a hummingbird, we saw this recently. It's really fun to see hummingbirds around, and they're actually pollinators. We don't typically think about birds as pollinators, but as you know, pollination is important for reproduction of plants, and one of the reasons that we love bees. This is a bee on a Yopon holly. Yopon hollies, I love to say, I say this all the time, so forgive me if you've heard from me before, but Yopon hollies are the only naturally producing caffeine plants in North America. And this is a bee. I love bees, even though I am deathly allergic. Maybe not deathly, but very allergic. Um, and pollinators are out right now, doing their job out in nature. If you're quiet around a tree that is planted or is blooming, you can just hear the buzz around them. Which leads me to our next one, which is the terrible bug. This is just nasty. I hate these things. You can kind of get a sense on how big this is at the end here when they show the pic. This is a big bug. Uh, Centipede or millipede or something evil peed. I hate these things. Kill them every time you can. I'm sure there's some positive in the world for them, but I can't imagine it. Says they sting terrible and they're ugly and disgusting. Kill them. But bugs are out. Speaking of evil things, this is a picture I took in a neighborhood in Austin. These oaks, you can see they've got tags on them. This is because they don't have any leaves on them, and that is because of oak wilt in this area. This is the time of year to avoid trimming your oaks, if at all possible, because oak wilt spreads during the spring via a tiny bug. We can talk more about that at a later point, but a little beetle transfers the disease between oaks, live oaks, red oaks. There are white oaks that are pretty resistant to very resistant, Monterey oaks being one of them, like we saw earlier. You've also got sycamores, cedar elms, maples, a bunch of different types of trees that are not affected by oak wilt that you can plant in their stead. But if you start to see these in your neighborhood, please be very, very wary and please choose to trim your trees at the right time of year, which would be um, hot of the summer or cold of the winter. Would be the best time, just not the dead of spring like we're in right now. Another thing you can see in this picture, the grass is looking really, really good and green under here. Let's go move on. Here's another evil tree thing to do. Some people like this. Personally bothers me because I think it's really ugly and not really healthy for the tree. This is what we call crape murder or topping a crape myrtle. You can go and Google this. We got articles about it as well. But this is what it looks like when someone tops a crepe myrtle. First of all, this is a weird time of year to do it. You should really do it in like February, not in April. This is in my neighborhood. I don't know these people. I'm sorry for me to criticize you, neighbors. Um, but you can see like it's already starting to butt in. And this will actually look pretty nice for a little while. It'll shoot off all these little sticks that'll all bloom compactly. That's why people do it. But in the winter, it just looks like this, and with a bunch of sticks sticking out the top here. So it's not very healthy for the plant. Let's go to something beautiful that I saw this weekend. These are called St. Joseph's lilies, and they're beautiful. These blooms only last for several weeks, a year, but you still end up with these leafy green plants in your yard year round. And then in late spring, they pop up like this and produce these really bright, beautiful flowers. Um, I think that the scientific name is something like Amaryllis. Um, and so you can look for them. They come in, uh, what do you call the little, what do you call the pods? The like, I just lost the word. The little tubers you plant. Bulbs, that's the word. Bulbs. You plant the bulbs. And actually, every couple of years, you can kind of cut these down the middle and move the bulbs that are like 5 or 6 inches below ground and replant them in another part of your yard. This neighbor actually had two different varieties. This is like apparently, I had to look this up because these are a hybrid version of the Amaryllis. Um, Amaryllis is Amaryllis, I think. I just remember it because of Amarillo. I don't know why. I'm sure that aren't, these are more beautiful than Amarillo. Sorry if you're from Amarillo. Um, but I love them, and they have these big leafy bases to them that kind of look like an iris, but a little bit softer, more, they're easier to break than an iris. They're less resilient than an iris, but they work really well natively, and you don't have to really care for them that much differently than any other plant once they're established in your yard. And then I think this is our last picture. Oh, one of our last pictures. This is just a poppy that's in our yard. We planted a bunch of wildflower seeds. Technically, poppies are not native to Texas or the United States or North America, but they are not invasive and do really well here in disturbed earth. So a lot of people will mix them with wildflower mixes and stuff. And so we got one because we love the poppies. It's just like such a beautiful plant, and so bright. They come in pinks and reds. You can see some of the reds behind them. They usually bloom just after bluebonnets, so they're a good transition. Once you get kind of weaker bluebonnets, you can start to have these pop really well. Of course, these are probably most famous for being in Flanders fields, World War I, after the like 6 years of war in that North in that Belgium, France area, Flanders. These were some of the first plants to come back in those killing fields where maybe 500,000 people died. And so there's that famous poem, Flanders Fields, written about this in World War I. And so they are often worn, the red ones specifically are often worn in the World War II, World War I memorial on Memorial Day and stuff like that. But I just think they're beautiful, beautiful flowers, and don't take much work once they're established. And then finally, I got this picture of just St. Augustine thriving right now. This is clearly recently mown. This is a great, well, for someone like me that cares about grass, a really fun image. For someone that doesn't, maybe you don't care at all, but I think it's beautiful. Green lighting on this St. Augustine grass. You can see the thick blades here. And grass is really coming in strong now. This is the best time of year for grass to recover, recovering some of those areas that maybe got damaged last year in the heat. Um, and it feels like you have to mow every 3 days right now in order to keep up with it. Um, so that's what's going on this week in landscaping. April 14th, give or take. No, not give or take. It's actually April 14th. So hope it's helpful and understand what's going on out there. And have a great week.